Today is a very big day. I'm going to talk you through my top 10 reads of 2024. Now, I honestly can't believe that I'm making a top 10 reads video because I hadn't picked up a book in 4 years until 6 months ago. And I was adamant to that point that I didn't have time to read. I had no interest in reading. And then I picked up this little book one random afternoon in June, and that was it. The rest was history. So today I want to talk you through my top 10 reads. I feel like I'm potentially missing missing a book. I really hope that I'm not. It took me a long time to think of what my top 10 reads were. Please share with me your top 10 reads of the year as well. But let's get stuck in. So coming in at number 10, I had to include it. It's the book that changed everything. It's A Court of Fawns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. This book, what have you done to me? Literally, I've seen quite a few people talking about it and raving about it online. Downloaded it onto my Kindle, downloaded the sample, started reading it. I was like, okay, this is a little bit weird. What on earth is going on? But I was hooked, wanted to see what was going to happen. Kept reading it. Even throughout the first book, I was a bit yeah, okay, it's good. Couldn't put it down. But, I wasn't obsessed. And then obviously as the series continued, it took over my life, became my new personality, and just unleashed a new love of reading. This book and this series, the ACOTAR series, really helped to capture my imagination. I feel like it awoken a lot of things that have felt very dormant inside me for a very long time. I feel like they've helped me with my anxiety. I feel like I sleep better. I just feel like I have this new hobby that's really lovely to talk about with people, and I've set up my book talk and I do more book videos. It's just, I don't know, I just feel like it's opened so many avenues, and I feel like it's been a real big help into my self-development and me finding myself. I feel like I've been very lost since becoming a mum, and I feel like these books and going on this reading journey has just really helped me to kind of find myself again. So I feel very, very grateful to this book. So this is coming in at number 10. At number 9, we have The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. Now, I'm a little bit behind with my read and wrap-up videos. I think I might potentially do a November and December reading video. So I read this in November. I read this when I was on holiday, so I've not told you guys about this book just yet, but this book was so good. Obviously, I really enjoyed it because it's in my top 10. It's based around trials, so kind of like the Hunger Games, but with vampires. And I absolutely ate this book up. It was just great. The atmosphere was incredible. The world building was really good. It wasn't too complicated. Normally when you start a new fantasy book, it takes you a little while to get into it. From the first chapter, I was hooked with this book. I literally was obsessed, could not put it down. The romance, oh my God, the romance was so good. The banter, the tension, it was just so good. Number 8 is Quicksilver by Callie Hart. Now, I definitely did feel like I had so many mixed feelings whilst I was reading this book. At first, I really wasn't sure. It felt a little bit like a fanfic. I felt like I was reading a Wattpad from back in the day. But then I'd say probably from about 10 chapters in, the story really started to develop and the enemies to lovers really kicked up a notch. The slow burn, the tension, it all just started to heat up. And then I was by the end of this book, I was absolutely obsessed. Could not put it down. Absolutely loved it. And I think about this book a lot. And I finished it I think it was early September I finished it. But yeah, this was so good. I really, really enjoyed it, and I cannot wait for book 2. The author has got some really big things happening for her as well. This is going to get turned into a Netflix film, which is crazy. But yeah, it's definitely worth a read. I feel like if you loved ACOTAR, major ACOTAR vibes, if you loved A Court of Silverflames, this honestly has got your name written all over it. At number 7, we are kicking off the first of the Throne of Glass books. So I finished my Throne of Glass journey, which I'm honestly a little bit devastated about. I think I did a whole, I think my October reading video was literally just about Throne of Glass. That series was just a masterpiece. I understand why everyone goes on about it so much because it really was incredible. ACOTAR will always be my number 1 series because it's got a very special place in my heart, but I feel like Throne of Glass is a very close second. And I feel like the characters in Throne of Glass are just so special. I was saying this to my friend the other day. In ACOTAR, there's a lot of those characters that I could give or take, but in Throne of Glass, there's probably like, there's more characters than not. Like in Throne of Glass, there's more characters that I love than ones that I don't like, if that makes sense. And I just feel so strongly about a lot of those characters. Like they feel like they're my friends. I feel like we went on a real journey together. And yeah, I just can't even describe it. Like those books, I feel like they really did something to me. So yeah, coming in at number 7 is Queen of Shadows. This to me, I feel like, I mean, all the books were really good, but I feel like this was the real first book in the series, which I think was book 5, where I was like, oh my God, like this is incredible. Like the books have been really good up until that point and I've been enjoying them. But this book was when it was like, oh my God, like this series is insane. Like this is something else. And this, so much in this book, I loved. There was like a really good like slow burn in it. The female friendships, the female empowerment, the character development. Honestly, just like 10 out of 10. At number 6, we have A Court of Wings and Ruin. Now, I loved all of the ACOTAR books, but when I kind of compare it to other books that I've now read, and even when I was reading the ACOTAR books, this definitely wasn't like, I think this is like my 3rd favourite book in the series. I love this book, don't get me wrong, but I really missed the kind of tension and the slow burn between Feyre and Rhys in A Court of Mist and Fury. And the ending of this book, like the last 100 pages of this book just absolutely destroyed me. Like I literally think that I sobbed. I think it might have even been like 150 pages. I literally just sobbed like the whole last few like not last few, like literally last 10 chapters. I literally just sobbed. So yeah, so Sarah, you did some emotional damage to me, which is why this one is number 6. But it's an incredible, incredible book. I feel like people are either team Wings and Ruin or you're Mist and Fury. Number 5, we have got Kingdom of Ash, which is the last book in the Throne of Glass series. Now, this may come as a bit of a surprise because this isn't my highest ranking Throne of Glass book. The reason why I've put this at number 5 and it's not higher is because as much as I love this story and I thought this book was absolutely incredible, it's definitely one of the most incredible books that I've ever read. There were some bits in it that I did felt dragged. I'm sorry to say it, but I do think this could maybe have been about 200 pages shorter. But I did really, really enjoy this. It's an incredible story and I feel like it just kind of tied everything up in a pretty nice bow and it just ended the series for most of the characters like really well, and I was very like content with the ending. But yeah, I love this book and I really wanted to try and like drag it out for as long as possible because I did not want to leave this world behind. Like considering this is like almost 1,000, is it 1,000 pages? Yeah, it's pretty much 1,000-page book. I was trying to make it last for as long as I possibly could because I loved it so much. But yeah, it definitely wasn't like my favourite in the series though. So like 2nd favourite, so yeah. At number 4, we have Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Now this is what I went and read straight after ACOTAR and this cured my ACOTAR hangover. I bloody loved this book and Iron Flame only just missed out in like reaching my top 10. I'm so excited for the 3rd book, Onyx Storm, in January, like literally cannot wait. So this was, you know, different to ACOTAR, we had dragons, but my God, were the dragons good. This was just such a good read. I really wasn't expecting it to be as good because I was like, I've just read ACOTAR. What's going to be as good as ACOTAR? But this was just amazing. Loved it, loved it, loved it. I love Violet. I love Xaden. I love the dragons. I love the story. I cannot wait to see, like, but I'm also like, I can't wait to see what happens next, but I'm also nervous to see what happens next because if you've read these books and you know the ending of Iron Flame, you will know why I am nervous for the next book because Rebecca, she puts us through torture in those last 100, 150 pages. But yeah, I cannot wait to see where this story goes. But yeah, definitely one of my top reads of the year. It was absolutely incredible. Coming in at number 3, we have A Court of Silverflame. So this is the last book, well, the current last book. We are due to get another ACOTAR book at some point. But this is the 5th book in the ACOTAR series. Now, I was really dreading reading this because first of all, it was the last book and I didn't want the series to be over, but also this is from a different point of view. So we'd had all the other books from Feyre's point of view. This is from Nesta, her sister, and we don't overly like Nesta in the rest of the book, so I was very, very nervous. But I was pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoyed this book, and I really loved reading Nesta's redemption arc and the story between her and Cassian. This felt a lot more adult than the rest of the stories. The other books, there was a lot more swearing, there was a lot more spice. It definitely felt like it was like a step up. Although the other books don't feel like childish at all, this just felt to be a little bit kind of more adult, if that makes sense. But there's a lot in this book that I just loved. I think, like I said, the redemption arc, her trauma healing, kind of finding her inner confidence. And she has this really beautiful like friendship which bonds with two other females within the book. And I feel like them empowering each other and their relationship and the journey they go on was just so beautiful. Like, I just love a good female friendship. I love female empowerment within these books. And I just felt like this was done so, so well. And yeah, I just thought it was a really like quite beautiful book, and I just loved the story. So yeah, I really, really loved this. I loved it a lot more than what I was expecting to. So yeah, number 3, of course, Silverflames. Now, my number 2 books, it's books. So I know I'm technically cheating because it's 2 books, but I'm counting them as 1 because I read them at the same time. Now, I don't know if this may come as a surprise, it might be quite controversial, but I have gone for Throne of Glass, Empire of Storms, and Tower of Dawn. Now, the reason why I'm putting these joint as 2 is because I read these as the tandem read. And let me just tell you that reading these as a tandem read brought me so much joy. I had so much fun reading these as a tandem. I've never ever done a tandem read before. If you just said to me at the beginning of the year, like, what is a tandem read? I'd have been like, what are you talking about? And I was really quite daunted about doing it, but I'm so glad that I did, because it was just so much fun. I loved reading 2 books at the same time, and I feel like these really complemented each other, working as a tandem. Now, a lot of people don't like Tower of Dawn, and I do get it, because Tower of Dawn is quite slow in places, and a lot of people don't overly like the point of view. It's from a point of view from a character called Kale. But I just thought that it was really quite interesting to see a different perspective and to also kind of build on that character development. And the romance within this book was just so, so sweet. There was a lot of romance in both of these books. There was spice. It felt like the romance had finally like arrived to the scene in like Throne of Glass. And when I think back to like the books that I've read this year and enjoyed, like when I think about that, the one that I probably like most enjoyed and I had the most fun with, it was these 2. So this is why they're my number 2, because I just had such a great time reading them, and it was such a fun experience. And I just thought the story in both of these was so, so good. So yeah, if you're on the fence about doing the tandem read, definitely do it. But yeah, I love these. They were just so good, so, so good. So that leads me on to my number 1 read of the year, and it's probably no surprise, you probably guessed it, but my number 1 read of the year is A Court of Mist and Fury. So this is the 2nd book in the ACOTAR series, and I started this book thinking, okay, this series is good, I want to see what happens next, and I was probably about 30% of the way through this book when all of a sudden it hit me what a masterpiece this was. And I actually messaged one of my friends who was reading, I think she was a bit ahead of me, and I was like, this book, like, oh my God. And she was like, I know, right? And I was like, I literally cannot get over it. Like, I just felt like I just couldn't put it down. I was reading at any opportunity I could get. The love story in this is just so beautiful. Like, it literally just makes my heart hurt. Like, Feyre and Rhys and like their trauma healing and the journey they go on together. It's just so beautiful. And the love that they have for each other. It just, oh my God, it's just something else. And the slow burn, the flirting, the banter, but there's also still quite a lot of like action and stuff that's going on within this book. It was just so good. And I just felt like this was just such a beautiful book. It's now my all-time favorite book of all time. And I remember like when I finished it, I was like, oh my God, I feel like no book is ever gonna like live up to this book. And it's definitely been that way. Like, I read it and wanted to reread it straight away. This was incredible, and I feel like it really just kind of made me like fall back in love with reading and fall in love with fantasy and romantasy. And yeah, it's just a really beautiful, special book. So that is my #1 read of 2024. So there we have it. There is my 10 reads of 2024. I'm so glad that I have fallen back in love with reading, and I really love and I love that I've fallen in love with like fantasy and romantasy reading, because these stories are just so incredible, and there's so many other books that I just cannot wait to read. Like, I'm just so excited. There's just something about this genre that I just absolutely love, and I don't think I'll ever get bored of reading. So let me know your top 10 reads of the year. I would absolutely love to know. And yeah, I can't wait to hear yours. I hope you're having a really good lead up to Christmas. I can't believe how soon we are approaching Christmas. It's crazy. But yeah, I hope you're doing really well, and I'll see you very soon. Bye. It's crazy. But yeah, I hope you're doing really well, and I'll see you very soon.